Well, may I start by saying that I admire you to an amazing degree. I have researched your amazing, story, and I have come to realize that throughout your career, you have had amazing social courage. You have never cowered from speaking out to protect the Hispanic, Mexican American people in the entertainment industry and everywhere, by the way. And it really, really is a very special day today for all of us. We're very, very excited. And if you allow me, I would like to start by introducing you, officially introduce you to our group.
Sure.
And of course, have an opportunity to see some pictures, So my friends, Alex Nogales is president and CEO of the National Hispanic Media Coalition, NHMC, which he co-founded in 1986 in response to the gross and under misrepresentation of American Latinos in media. The NHMC, a civil rights media advocacy organization, works to ensure Latinos are fairly and consistently represented in media, challenging media executives to embrace diversity and inclusion by making industry-wide hiring practices all-encompassing. In 2018, Alex led a national boycott against Paramount Pictures for having the worst record of employing Latinos as writers, producers, actors, and directors. Consequently, in 2019, Paramount announced an initiative that would promote diversity across storylines, vendors, and crew in film, television, and animated projects. The initiative marks a historic victory in paving the way for achieving equality for Latino creatives in Hollywood. In 2000, Alex and the Media Ethic Media Coalition, a national group representing communities of color, brokered the first ever memorandum of understanding with ABC, CBS, NBC, and Fox. The agreements have led to a slow but steady increase of Latino creators being hired at the networks. Alex and the NHMC have also become champions in fighting hate speech on the airwaves and on the internet, holding national boycotts against advertisers of radio and television shows who have had a long record of spreading hate and division in media. After repeatedly calling for a government analysis of the connection between hate speech and the hate crimes against Latinos, NHMC commissioned its own landmark studies on the harmful effects of inaccurate coverage of Latinos in media. Previously, Alex was a multi-Emmy Award-winning television producer and writer at KCBS TV in Los Angeles. What an amazing career. Alex, it is an honor to have you here today.
Thank you.
We know you have given your life to helping others. You have chosen to live a life of service. And I wonder what sparked that fire in you. What youth experiences, maybe very young child experiences, led you to feel this passion and this fire inside of you to help all of us?
Well, I've got to tell you that I had two very strong parents. My father was a dreamer. My father had a third-grade education. But nevertheless, he felt that if we got educated, there was no end to how much we could do. My mother was a general. She had a campaign going as to what we were going to do every moment of the day. We're going to do this. Vamos a piscar uvas until we get to the end of the row. And we were migrant farm workers. So that's what we did. We went from Calexico, right on the border, all the way up to Hollister, those places over there, cotton in the Imperial Valley, grapes in Delano, and then up to Hollister for peaches, for plums, and then back into the Central Valley for tomatoes. So we were gone from home base for about 6 months out of the year. And I have to tell you, up and down the state at that time, there were signs like the one that you saw over here a while ago that said, "No dogs or Mexicans allowed." Think about that. Think how it feels to have people tell you something like that. And that was consistent. And it took me years to get over those kinds of put-downs. But once they did, and I got an education, it was a different story. I could do, I could help, I could protest, I could do all kinds of things that before my parents, my father could not do. So I do it because of the conviction that how we are perceived is always going to be the way that we are treated. So if we are perceived as being less than, we will be treated as less than.
Our reputation.
And where does it all come from? You know that it comes from media, right? It comes from watching television. People outside our own community don't look at us as being hardworking. They don't look at us as being someone very special. They look at us as being the killers, the dope dealers, everything that Trump says about us day in and day out. And by the way, how many of you are Salvadoreño, Guatemalteco, Nicaraguenses, or any other group other than Mexican American? Raise your hands. All right. Trump doesn't know the difference. To him, you're all Mexican. So welcome to the group. Okay? Now, when we talk about Mexicans, in my lifetime, I've been a Mexicano, I've been a Mexican, I've been a Mexican American, I've been a Latino, I've been a Hispanic, and I've been also a Chicano. And now we have a new word, as you all know, and that's Latinx. And everybody's looking for that connection, as you said earlier. So whatever you feel is good for you, adapt it. That's fine, all right? The main thing is that you achieve, that you not stay as a pobrecito looking up because you don't know what you're going to do next, okay? There's no room for that. Latinos as a whole are hard-working people.
That's right.
But we're also very humble. And because we are very humble, we're not aggressive, and we should be aggressive. That if we are denied going forward just because we are Latino, that's not good enough. We got to fight it not only for you or you or you, for all of us. And all of you are at one time or another going to be parents.
That's right. That's right.
And so, listen, we got to fight for those that come after us. All right?
Can you tell that he's a fighter? I know. Look at all the pictures. Look at the pictures of when he was a kid. He had the same, mischievous smile that we still see today, right? I have a question for you.
Sure.
I during my research, I realized that at age 13, you decided to leave school. Now, that's an interesting thing that we want to know about. What happened?
I left at 13. I didn't finish grade school. I didn't finish high school. And then I went to a junior college and got 2 years there. And then to UCLA, where I got my degree in film and television. But I got to tell you that I didn't know it until years later why I dropped out of school. I come from a small community called Calexico, right on the border. And we had whites and we had Mexicans, okay? I don't remember anyone other than Mexicans being in that community. And the white kids were put on this classroom over here and the Mexicans on this other side over here. And the reason for that was they got a better education than we did. The better teachers were over there, and we were the tontos. We were over here. I mean, we had guys there that were like in 7th grade, and they were 17 years old, and they had mustaches already, And they were there because they were forced to be there, not because they really wanted to. So I knew that something was wrong, but I couldn't put my finger on it. I wasn't thinking at that point. And so over a period of time, I realized that it was that exclusion of Latinos that I didn't like. And so why was I going to go to school when nobody liked me, when other people didn't like us, So I left school. And, I was a driver for a woman who went to Mexico City. I was a carpenter's assistant. I was a cement maker. I was every little job that you can possibly imagine, in between working at the packing houses, tomatoes and cantaloupes and everything else. But at a certain point, that wasn't enough. I got married at 23, and I had children like right away, and there was no end to it. I was working at Western Airlines, and there was no future. I worked hard, overtime and everything else, but we were hardly making it.
Yeah, well, and we know that you love education. You already told us how much you love education. I realize as well that we owe you a great debt of gratitude because you serve, in the Army for 3 years. Mm-hmm. And thank you for your service, by the way, serving and protecting us. I wonder how that experience. At what age did you become? Do you join the Army, and how did that experience change you?
I had to become disciplined. And I don't like being told what to do. And in the service, everybody tells you what to do, So I had to learn discipline. I had to really think about when I was going to say yes and when I was going to say no. So the discipline was, I couldn't put a price on it. So when I came back, my mother was always amazed that I made my own bed, washed my own clothes. To this day, I still wash my own clothes. I iron. I do all those things that I did in the service. My mother was very proud of me, by the way. So it shaped me. It helped shape me.
To make you disciplined.
Yeah.
Well, and obviously that had a great effect because you became, you went back to school, you got a degree. And then after that, being the brilliant man that you are, you joined, TV, you became a producer, and a multiple Emmy winner producer. He was incredibly successful. And at one point, you decided to leave all of that success to become an activist and to protect others, risking your success, and that's very impressive. And tell us why. Tell us why would you do such a thing?
Well, I was at CBS Television, and I saw who got the jobs and why they got the jobs. And it had little to do with talent. It was who you knew within the company itself that they would elevate you or downgrade you. And I saw how unfair the system was. And so over a period of time, we built this organization, and I was in the background. I was vice president to the first two presidents of the organization. Armando Duron and Esther Renteria were the founders along with me. And they both served 2 terms, about 8 years, and then I took it over, and I've been at the top now for about 25 years. And I did it because I could. Because I could argue with the best of them, because I had the words to be able to argue and fight back. I did it because I saw who got the jobs, and I thought it very unfair. And I didn't want that to continue. So it was important to me, as it is to my good friend Moctezuma Esparza, that those kinds of things stop. So because I could, I did.
Well, that is amazing, and we thank you for that, for sure. You made so many changes. As we learned at the beginning, that you have made the big, powerful movie and TV industry change their practices, and that is very, very powerful. I have an interesting question for you. Now, at the beginning of our conversation this afternoon, I mentioned that the Mexican-American community is 12% of the population. The African-American community is 14% of the population. But when we look at TV, we can see how the African-American community, very well deserved, has become incredibly successful. You cannot see a show and not see a big part of the cast being African. You can have African-American. We cannot see, the news. How do we learn from that? And why is that?
Yeah.
How is it they have achieved such a success? Yeah. Well deserved, for sure.
African Americans are 13% of the U.S. population. Asian Pacific Americans are something like 5%. Latinos are 19%. Yet African Americans are overrepresented both in front and also in back of camera, according to the population. Okay? Asian Pacific Americans this year just broke out. You all watch television, you all see what I'm seeing, okay? And that is a lot of African Americans, okay? In front and in back of camera, a lot of Asian Pacific Americans. Latinos are not there. We're not there, guys, and we gotta break that cycle. Again, I say this with all sincerity. We're humble people. We don't fight, and we've gotta fight. We've gotta be, as our friend over here was saying, very united. Those lines of, no, yo no me junto con los puertorriqueños, no me gustan los salvadoreños. When everything is said and done, we come from the same history, we eat the same foods, we come from the same place, speak the same language. Variations here and there, intonations a little bit different, accents a little bit different, but we're one and the same. So we can't really, no me gustan los salvadoreños, no me voy a juntar con los puertorriqueños. Come on. We've got to be more united than that, and we've got to fight together. And that's the only way that we're going to do it. Look, we're not just Españoles, we're not just Indian, we're also African. You know, we all have all these bloods together. My wife, not too long ago, did the Ancestry.com thing. Turns out that I'm 60% from Spain, my ancestors, and 40% Native American. Okay, mestizo, in other words. Okay? Now my daughter has 2 children. One of my daughters, I have 4 daughters, and she married an African American. So I have 2 now that are African American. Then I have another one. She married a Mexicano. So I have 2, cholitos there. And then I have another one, and she married a white kid, okay? So I have a little girl there that blondie as blondie could be, That's the way of the world. That's the way we are. What we have in common is our culture, our history, our sentiment, and artistic ability. If you go to Mexico, you're going to see these incredible things that talk about who we are and where we come from. I'm going to be retiring at the end of this year. And you know what one of my big ambitions is going to be? It's going to be to grab my children and take them to the museums, to take them to the zoo, to tell them where they come from, to be proud of who we are, mixed as we are, because we've always been mixed, okay? We gotta show them all of that. I want to go to school and I want to learn some more things that I never had to learn, or that I wanted to learn and didn't have the time to do. Los Angeles is full of museums. It's full of wonderful things to go and explore. Different kinds of people, different kinds of foods. All of you, have to go out and experiment with all those things. And you will have white friends, and you will have black friends, and you will have Asian Pacific friends, and you will marry some of them as well. But you know what you'll have in common? You will bring that culture over to you. And women are much better than men about that, Women get married and they take the man and they go to her house, with her parents. ¿No es cierto?
That's very, very true. What do you see? You just mentioned to us that you are going to be retiring pretty soon, and brilliant Brenda Castillo is going to take over the realms of the National Hispanic Media Coalition. She has an impressive background. What do you see the future with this organization?
We live in the year of women. We have more women leaders than we can count anymore, okay? Women are getting the degrees. They're staying in school. They're getting the education. The guys are not, for a lot of different reasons. It has been customary that the guys work. So they're not even out of high school, and they're already working. Women are supposed to stay home, but they're not staying home. They're going to school. My dad was a pioneer. We had 2 girls in our family. Both of them went to a college. Now we're talking 50 years back, and they're in college. Friends of my parents used to laugh at my dad for sending his daughters to college. Can you imagine? Now it's something that is happening. So this is the time of the woman. Brenda is going to be taking over, and I have to tell you, she is as strong as I ever was. She is as innovative, she is as determined, as passionate and idealistic as ever I was. And she was the first executive director of this organization 30 years ago, and she's going to lead it to the next step. And that's the evolution of things, guys. And I will ask you, all of you, to help her because she can't do it alone. All of you young people right here, come on. You can do this.
And by the way, Brenda's right there. So for you
Stand
guys
up,
to know-
Brenda.
Stand up, Brenda, please. All of you young people, have the opportunity to meet the next leader of the National Hispanic Media Coalition. I have a question for you. Obviously you can call people at NBC, the president of Paramount. You know media, and you have influence in media. I'm sure that there's a great deal of our future history, Mexican American and Latino history makers here in this room. How are we going to be able to put those stories on TV, on books, on radio? What is the path? What do we need to do?
First of all, we have to have an education. Okay, you've got to finish school. You can't do it without those skills. And number two, you have to train yourself to not allow to be stepped on. You have to be assertive. For too many years, for centuries now, we have been very humble.
For all the abuse.
Yes, and we cannot afford to be humble anymore. We have to be assertive, and if we have to be aggressive. That's it. And we have to do it as a group. It's been said several times. One person cannot do it, not even 2 or 100. It's got to be a national movement where we're all talking the same thing. Whatever we call ourselves, Salvadoreño, Mexicano, Chicano, whatever, doesn't matter. We're the same people.
Well, my friend, the advice, the information that we have learned from you tonight is amazing. I think that we that we're going to leave this room with understanding a lot of things that we didn't know before. I know that you tonight is such a special event. You're going to be inspired to write beautiful things about so much that we have learned tonight, and such an amazing opportunity to meet a true Mexican American history maker. So I would like to take this opportunity to thank Alex Nogales. We have a special trophy because you are a true Mexican American history maker. Alex,
Thank you, Jose Luis.
thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
I wouldn't.